Beneath the scorching sands of Egypt lies a truth so profound that it rewrote everything we thought we knew about human civilization. For centuries, the pharaohs kept secrets buried deeper than their golden treasures. Secrets that would shake the foundations of history itself when finally unearthed. What if everything you believed about ancient Egypt was just the surface of a far more extraordinary story? In 1922, when Howard Carter first peered into the tomb of Tutankhamun, he whispered words that would echo through time, "I see wonderful things." But he could never have known that this discovery was merely the first thread in a tapestry of revelations that would transform our understanding of the most mysterious civilization ever to grace this earth. The ancient Egyptians didn't just build monuments to the dead. They preserved clues to secrets that modern science is only now beginning to decode. From forgotten pharaohs whose names were deliberately erased from history to archaeological finds that challenge our most fundamental assumptions about human achievement, Egypt continues to surrender mysteries that redefine the very boundaries of possibility. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, take this opportunity to subscribe now and like the video to help the channel grow and reach more people like you. The story of Egypt's archaeological revolution begins not in the dusty corridors of ancient tombs, but in the minds of those brave enough to question what seemed unquestionable. For over 3,000 years, the civilization that flourished along the Nile River created wonders that defied explanation. Pyramids that aligned perfectly with celestial bodies, mummies preserved so flawlessly that their features remained intact after millennia, and hieroglyphic texts that encoded knowledge spanning mathematics, medicine, and astronomy far beyond what their era should have possessed. Yet for centuries after Egypt's decline, these achievements were dismissed as primitive superstition or attributed to divine intervention rather than human ingenuity. The Western world saw Egypt through the lens of biblical narratives and classical Greek accounts, viewing it as a land of mystical practices rather than sophisticated science. This perception began to crack in 1798 when Napoleon's expedition brought scholars face to face with monuments whose scale and precision challenged European assumptions about ancient capabilities. The discovery of the Rosetta Stone in 1799 marked the first breakthrough in deciphering hieroglyphics, but it was only the beginning of a transformation that would span more than 2 centuries. Each subsequent archaeological discovery would peel back another layer of misconception, revealing a civilization far more advanced, complex, and influential than anyone had dared to imagine. The ancient Egyptians weren't simply building tombs and worshipping animal gods. They were pioneering technologies, developing philosophical concepts, and establishing governmental systems that would influence human civilization for millennia to come. What emerges from the sand isn't just artifacts and monuments, but evidence of human achievements so extraordinary that it forces us to reconsider the very timeline of human progress. The discoveries we're about to explore didn't just fill museums. They rewrote textbooks, challenged academic orthodoxy, and revealed that the ancient world was far more sophisticated than we ever believed possible. The first discovery that truly shattered conventional understanding emerged from the Valley of the Kings in 1817, when Giovanni Belzoni uncovered the tomb of Seti I. What stunned archaeologists wasn't just the tomb's pristine condition, but the astronomical ceiling that decorated its burial chamber. Here, carved in stone over 3,000 years ago, was a star map of such precision that it matched modern astronomical calculations with startling accuracy. The ancient Egyptians had mapped the night sky with a sophistication that wouldn't be equaled in Europe until the Renaissance. But Seti I was more than an astronomer king. His reign from 1294 to 1279 before Christ marked the height of the 19th dynasty's military and architectural achievements. The man who commissioned this tomb had conquered territories from modern-day Sudan to Syria, yet he chose to be remembered not for his military victories, but for his devotion to cosmic order. His sarcophagus, carved from a single piece of translucent alabaster, was inscribed with a complete text of the Book of Gates, a guide to the afterlife so complex that scholars are still decoding its astronomical and mathematical references today. The implications were staggering. This wasn't a primitive civilization worshipping animal gods, but a sophisticated society that understood celestial mechanics, practiced advanced mathematics, and possessed knowledge systems that integrated science with spirituality in ways that modern academia struggles to comprehend. Seti's tomb revealed that the ancient Egyptians didn't just observe the stars, they understood their movements well enough to predict eclipses, calculate the length of the solar year to within minutes of modern measurements, and align their monuments with pinpoint precision to celestial events. Yet even this discovery paled beside what emerged in 1881 from a hidden cache near Deir el-Bahari. Local tomb robbers had stumbled upon something unprecedented. A secret repository containing the mummies of over 40 pharaohs, including some of the most powerful rulers in Egyptian history: Ramesses II, Seti I, Thutmose III, and Ahmose I. Names that had ruled an empire spanning from Nubia to the Euphrates. lay preserved in a simple tomb, hidden there by priests during Egypt's decline to protect them from grave robbers. The condition of these royal mummies revealed techniques so advanced that they surpassed anything European medicine could achieve until the 19th century. Ramesses II, who ruled for 66 years and died at age 90, retained skin, hair, and facial features so well preserved that forensic scientists could determine not only his cause of death but his diet, health conditions, and even the perfumes used in his mummification process. The ancient embalmers had somehow mastered organic chemistry to a degree that prevented bacterial decay for over 3 millennia. But the real revelation came when researchers examined the mummy of Ramesses II under electron microscopes in 1976. They discovered that his body contained traces of tobacco and cocaine, plants that weren't supposed to exist in Egypt until Columbus reached the Americas. This finding suggested either extensive trade networks spanning continents that historians hadn't imagined, or cultivation techniques that had somehow brought new world crops to ancient Egypt thousands of years before European contact. The mystery deepened with the discovery of Hatshepsut's temple at Deir el-Bahari, one of the most ambitious architectural projects of the ancient world. Built into living rock around 1470 before Christ, this monument revealed a pharaoh who challenged every assumption about ancient Egyptian society. Hatshepsut hadn't just ruled as regent for her stepson. She had declared herself pharaoh, adopted the traditional false beard and ceremonial regalia of kingship, and ruled Egypt for 22 years as one of its most successful monarchs. Her temple walls told stories that revolutionized understanding of ancient Egyptian capabilities. Detailed reliefs depicted the famous expedition to the land of Punt, showing Egyptian ships bringing back exotic animals, incense trees, gold, and ivory from what modern scholars believe was modern-day Somalia or Eritrea. But these weren't simple trade missions. The precision of the botanical illustrations, the accurate depictions of African wildlife, and the sophisticated understanding of navigation required for such voyages suggested a level of geographical knowledge and maritime technology that historians had never attributed to ancient Egypt. More importantly, Hatshepsut's inscriptions revealed a ruler who understood economics, diplomacy, and statecraft with remarkable sophistication. Rather than conquering through warfare, she had built prosperity through trade networks that stretched from sub-Saharan Africa to the Mediterranean. Her reign produced architectural marvels, artistic innovations, and economic growth that wouldn't be matched until the height of the Roman Empire. Yet her successors had tried to erase her from history, chiseling out her name from monuments and destroying her statues in an attempt to deny that a woman had ruled Egypt as pharaoh. The attempted erasure of Hatshepsut pointed to something even more extraordinary about ancient Egyptian record-keeping. When archaeologists began systematically studying hieroglyphic inscriptions, they discovered that the Egyptians maintained historical records with an accuracy that surpassed many medieval European chroniclers. The Turin King List, the Abydos King List, and the Palermo Stone provided chronological frameworks so detailed that modern historians could reconstruct Egyptian history with precision spanning over 3,000 years. These records revealed pharaohs whose very existence had been forgotten, dynasties that had been compressed or expanded by later chroniclers, and historical events that completely rewrote the timeline of ancient Mediterranean civilization. The Egyptians hadn't just maintained power for 3 millennia, they had documented their achievements with a historical consciousness that demonstrated sophisticated understanding of their place in the broader arc of human development. But perhaps the most shocking discovery emerged from the analysis of Egyptian medical papyri, particularly the Edwin Smith Papyrus and the Ebers Papyrus, both dating to around 1600 before Christ. These texts revealed medical knowledge so advanced that they described surgical procedures, anatomical understanding, and pharmaceutical preparations that wouldn't be rediscovered in Europe until the Renaissance. The Edwin Smith Papyrus contained the first known descriptions of the brain, heart, and circulatory system, along with surgical techniques for treating head injuries, broken bones, and internal bleeding. The Ebers Papyrus went even further, cataloging over 700 medical formulas and remedies that demonstrated sophisticated understanding of pharmacology, dentistry, gynecology, and mental health treatment. Ancient Egyptian physicians understood the importance of hygiene, practiced forms of anesthesia during surgery, and had developed diagnostic techniques that allowed them to identify diseases through examination of symptoms that modern medicine recognizes as clinically accurate. These medical texts revealed practitioners who combined empirical observation with systematic experimentation in ways that prefigured modern scientific methodology. They tested treatments, recorded results, and refined techniques based on outcomes, approaching medicine as a discipline that could be improved through accumulated knowledge rather than relying solely on religious or traditional practices. The true magnitude of Egyptian achievement became undeniable when archaeologists uncovered the great library of Alexandria's predecessor, the House of Life at Memphis, where scribes and scholars preserved knowledge that spanned every field of human inquiry. But it was the discovery of the Rhind mathematical papyrus in 1858 that revealed the depth of Egyptian intellectual achievement. This document, dating to 1550 before Christ, contained mathematical calculations so sophisticated that they included accurate approximations of pi, solutions to complex geometric problems, and algebraic equations that European mathematicians wouldn't master until the Middle Ages. The papyrus revealed that Egyptian mathematicians understood concepts like exponential growth, worked with fractions in ways that demonstrated advanced numerical reasoning, and had developed practical applications for mathematics that encompassed architecture, astronomy, and engineering. They calculated the volumes of pyramids, the areas of circles, and the angles needed to construct monuments that would remain standing for millennia. This wasn't theoretical mathematics. It was applied science that produced structures whose precision still amazes modern engineers. But the most revolutionary discovery came in 1922, when Howard Carter's team finally breached the sealed doorway of Tutankhamun's tomb. What they found inside challenged everything historians thought they knew about ancient Egyptian craftsmanship, trade networks, and technological capabilities. The golden funeral mask alone contained gold so pure that modern analysis revealed refining techniques that shouldn't have existed for another 2,000 years. The tomb's treasures included glass vessels with clarity matching modern production, steel daggers made from meteoritic iron that demonstrated metallurgical skills comparable to medieval European blacksmithing, and jewelry incorporating precious stones from sources spanning 3 continents. More extraordinary still were the items that suggested scientific instruments disguised as ceremonial objects. Tutankhamun's golden dagger contained iron with nickel content that matched known meteorites, indicating that Egyptian metallurgists not only recognized the extraterrestrial origin of certain metals but had developed techniques for forging them into functional tools. The famous golden burial mask incorporated electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver, processed to achieve color gradations that required understanding of metallurgy principles not formally described by European science until the 18th century. The Boy King's tomb also contained the first concrete evidence of Egypt's true reach across the ancient world. Tutankhamun's burial goods included amber from the Baltic Sea, lapis lazuli from Afghanistan, ivory from sub-Saharan Africa, and silver from Anatolia. These weren't random tribute items, but carefully selected materials that demonstrated trade relationships spanning from Scandinavia to Central Asia. The ancient Egyptians hadn't just built an empire along the Nile. They had established commercial networks that connected civilizations across 3 continents through sophisticated systems of exchange that required diplomatic, linguistic, and navigational capabilities of extraordinary sophistication. Yet Tutankhamun himself remained a mystery until 2005. When CT scanning revealed that the young pharaoh had died from a head injury at approximately 19 years of age. The scans showed evidence of hasty mummification, suggesting political upheaval following his unexpected death. More importantly, genetic analysis revealed that Tutankhamun was the son of Akhenaten, the heretic pharaoh who had briefly transformed Egypt into a monotheistic kingdom worshipping only the sun god Aten. This connection illuminated one of ancient Egypt's most dramatic religious and political upheavals. Akhenaten's revolution around 1350 before Christ had attempted to overthrow 3,000 years of traditional Egyptian religion in favor of worship focused on a single deity. He had moved the capital from Thebes to a new city, Amarna, and commissioned art that departed radically from traditional Egyptian conventions. The famous bust of his queen, Nefertiti, discovered in 1912, showed artistic techniques that captured individual personality and emotional expression rather than the stylized idealization typical of Egyptian royal portraiture. But Akhenaten's revolution had failed catastrophically. After his death, the traditional priesthood systematically destroyed his monuments, abandoned his capital city, and attempted to erase all evidence of his reign from Egyptian history. Tutankhamun's short rule represented the restoration of traditional religion, but his early death had plunged Egypt into the succession crisis that would ultimately lead to the end of the 18th dynasty and the rise of military strongmen like Ramesses I. The discovery of Amarna and its archives in the late 19th century revealed correspondence between Egyptian pharaohs and rulers throughout the ancient Near East, written in Akkadian cuneiform on clay tablets. These diplomatic letters, known as the Amarna letters, documented international relations of sophistication that historians hadn't imagined possible for the ancient world. Egyptian pharaohs exchanged ambassadors with Mesopotamian kings, negotiated marriage alliances with Anatolian princes, and maintained diplomatic protocols that included written treaties, trade agreements, and military alliances spanning from modern-day Turkey to Sudan. The letters revealed Akhenaten negotiating with the Hittite Empire, coordinating with Assyrian rulers, and managing rebellions in Egyptian territories through diplomatic rather than purely military means. Ancient Egypt hadn't just conquered its neighbors, it had developed international law, diplomatic immunity, and treaty obligations that created stability across the eastern Mediterranean for centuries. The sophistication of these diplomatic relationships suggested governmental institutions and bureaucratic capabilities that rivaled modern nation-states. But perhaps the most profound discovery came from the analysis of Egyptian architectural achievements, particularly the precision of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Modern laser measurements revealed construction tolerances that approached the limits of contemporary engineering capabilities. The pyramid's base is level to within just 2.1 centimeters, its sides are equal in length to within 2 centimeters, and its orientation to cardinal directions is accurate to within 3 arc minutes. These measurements represent precision that requires not just sophisticated mathematical knowledge but construction techniques, surveying instruments, and project management capabilities that coordinated the labor of thousands of workers over decades. The Great Pyramid's internal structure revealed engineering solutions that demonstrate advanced understanding of structural mechanics, weight distribution, and material science. The Grand Gallery's corbelled ceiling distributes the pyramid's massive weight through architectural techniques that weren't rediscovered until medieval cathedral construction. The precision-cut granite blocks in the King's Chamber were transported from quarries 500 miles away and fitted so precisely that a knife blade cannot fit between the joints, achieved without mortar or modern lifting equipment. Recent discoveries using cosmic ray imaging have revealed hidden chambers within the Great Pyramid, suggesting that its builders incorporated voids and passages according to design principles that modern engineers are still struggling to understand. These chambers appear to align with stellar positions in ways that demonstrate astronomical knowledge integrated into architectural planning at levels that require sophisticated understanding of both celestial mechanics and structural engineering. The pyramid's mathematical properties reveal even more extraordinary knowledge. Its proportions encode the value of pi to several decimal places, incorporate the golden ratio in ways that suggest deliberate design rather than coincidence, and demonstrate understanding of advanced geometric principles, including the relationship between spherical and planar geometry. The ancient architects who designed this monument possessed mathematical knowledge that European civilization wouldn't rediscover until the Renaissance. Yet the pyramids represent only one aspect of Egyptian technological achievement. The discovery of ancient Egyptian mines in the Sinai Peninsula revealed copper extraction and refining operations of industrial scale, complete with worker housing, administrative buildings, and transportation infrastructure that supported continuous production over centuries. These operations required knowledge of geology, metallurgy, and logistics that enabled Egypt to maintain technological supremacy in the ancient world through control of strategic resources. The scope of Egyptian industrial capability became clear through analysis of construction sites throughout the kingdom. The temples at Karnak required quarrying, transportation, and assembly of millions of tons of stone blocks, many weighing over 100 tons, using techniques that moved materials hundreds of miles and lifted them to heights that challenged the limits of human engineering capability. The obelisks at Karnak, including some over 100 feet tall and weighing more than 300 tons, were carved from single pieces of granite and erected with precision that required engineering solutions comparable to modern crane technology. Standing before these archaeological revelations, we must confront an uncomfortable truth about human progress. The narrative we've inherited, that civilization evolved in a steady upward trajectory from primitive beginnings to modern sophistication, crumbles beneath the weight of evidence emerging from Egypt's sands. The ancient Egyptians achieved levels of mathematical precision, engineering capability, medical knowledge, and international coordination that in many ways surpassed what European civilization would accomplish for another 2,000 years after Egypt's decline. This wasn't a society stumbling toward enlightenment through trial and error. The Egyptians developed systematic approaches to knowledge that integrated empirical observation, mathematical analysis, and practical application in ways that produced lasting achievements. Their physicians performed surgery with tools and techniques that saved lives. Their engineers built monuments that have endured for 4 millennia. Their mathematicians solved problems that challenged European scholars well into the Renaissance. And their diplomats managed international relationships with sophistication that modern nations still struggle to achieve. Yet perhaps the most profound lesson emerging from these discoveries lies not in what the ancient Egyptians accomplished, but in how completely their achievements were forgotten. The knowledge that produced the pyramids, the medical treatments that healed patients, the astronomical observations that predicted celestial events, all of this accumulated wisdom vanished so thoroughly that later civilizations had to rediscover basic principles that Egypt had mastered centuries earlier. The collapse of Egyptian civilization around 300 before Christ marked more than the end of a political entity. It represented a catastrophic loss of human knowledge that set back scientific and technological progress by centuries. The Library of Alexandria's destruction, the abandonment of Egyptian medical practices, the loss of architectural techniques that built monuments still standing today, These weren't just historical footnotes but reversals of human capability that demonstrate how fragile our accumulated knowledge truly is. This fragility resonates with chilling relevance in our contemporary world. We live in an era where digital storage has made information more abundant than ever before, yet also more vulnerable to complete loss. Ancient Egyptian knowledge survived for millennia carved in stone and written on papyrus, but our digital civilization stores its most crucial information in formats that may become unreadable within decades. The physicians who performed surgery in ancient Egypt left techniques preserved in medical papyri that remained useful for thousands of years. While modern medical knowledge depends on continuous power grids, maintained servers, and compatible software that could vanish far more quickly than we dare acknowledge. The archaeological discoveries that revealed Egypt's true sophistication also illuminate how easily advanced civilizations can disappear from historical memory. For over 1,500 years, European scholars dismissed Egyptian achievements as primitive superstition, despite standing in the shadow of monuments that their own civilizations couldn't replicate. How much knowledge have we lost from other ancient civilizations whose achievements we haven't yet rediscovered? How many solutions to contemporary problems lie buried in archaeological sites that haven't been excavated, recorded in languages that haven't been decoded, or preserved in materials that haven't been analyzed with modern techniques? The story of Egyptian archaeology suggests that human civilization doesn't progress inevitably toward greater sophistication, but rather rises and falls in cycles that can lose crucial knowledge for centuries or millennia. The Egyptians developed sustainable agricultural practices that supported stable populations for over 3,000 years, created architectural techniques that produced structures more durable than anything built in the last 5 centuries, and established diplomatic practices that maintained peace across vast regions for longer periods than modern international relations have achieved. Their approach to knowledge, integrating scientific observation with practical application, combining individual expertise with institutional continuity, and preserving discoveries in formats designed to survive across generations, offers lessons that our contemporary civilization ignores at its peril. The ancient Egyptians understood that knowledge without preservation is merely temporary achievement, that innovations without institutional support disappear with their creators, and that civilizational continuity requires conscious effort to maintain accumulated wisdom across political and social upheavals. As we face challenges that require unprecedented international cooperation, technological innovation, and long-term thinking, the Egyptian example reminds us that sophisticated solutions to complex problems have been developed before. Their achievements in medicine, engineering, diplomacy, and social organization didn't emerge from superior intelligence or favorable circumstances, but from sustained commitment to systematic knowledge development and institutional preservation of discoveries across generations. If you made it this far and haven't subscribed yet, take this opportunity to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share in the comments what you found most surprising about these archaeological discoveries that transformed our understanding of ancient Egypt. Which Egyptian achievement do you think has the most relevance for solving modern challenges?